Well, good evening everyone. Tonight's the October public meeting, Western Creek Community Council, and also our annual general meeting. We start traditionally with an acknowledgement of country. And does anybody want to do it? Emma Davidson, our local MLA, will do the acknowledgement of country.
Hello. I'd like to start by saying Dawara Nuna, Dawara Nuna, Yanku Nalawiri, Duni Manyan, Nunawawari, Dawara Wari, Lingara Dindi, Wangari Jinyan. I'm just going to put this down for a minute so I can also do this in Auslan. So this is Ngunnawal country, and today we are gathering on Ngunnawal country. We always pay our respects to elders, female and male. Those were the words that I just spoke in Ngunnawal a moment ago. I know that there are many people and families who have a connection to the lands of Canberra and the region. And Canberra has always been a place where people come together to share knowledge and ideas. So to become a truly reconciled nation, to truly care for country and for each other, we must listen to, understand and support our First Nations people, because this always was and always will be Aboriginal land and sovereignty was never ceded. So I pay my respects to elders past, present and future. And out of respect for them, and because I listen to elders here, I am still committed to truth, treaty and voice to Parliament, and the work will continue.
Thank you, Emma. Done so much better than I can do it. No.
One point to follow up. Canberra has about 75% of Canberra population has certified. But the whole nice that is surrounded. That's probably a big benefit.
Okay. I'll move on with the meeting. Now we are going out on Facebook Live, and we hopefully got some people out there, and I think we should be very respectful because we don't know who's going to be watching. Now, I believe Win News is doing a report on community councils. Here he is. Anthony Dodd from Win News is here. You might see him on TV most nights, reporting on local matters. So yeah, they've been doing a bit of a look at community councils. So we will be respectful, won't we? Like we always are. So I'll move on to the Chair's report. Now, I tried to get out on Monday. Unfortunately, didn't get out on Monday, and there's good reason for that. The deed of grant offer, words, landed on us on Tuesday afternoon, and needed to just absorb it a bit and process it, and see where it took us. The core of it is, it does reduce our obligation to hold formal public meetings. And this is my interpretation, and feel free if you've read the terms to come back with an alternative. Reduce it from the 9 down to 4 formal meetings in public space, the same place, same time, whatever, on a regular interval. And it included 2 further meetings with groups that were to be targeted, which are migrant groups, young people, etc. Help me, somebody with the other two. Disability groups, and so, and these sort of people have been trying to talk to anyway. So the problem I have with the offer and I am standing down tonight, I'm not going to play in this space anymore, is the government, in my view, has not respected our input. And have a look around the room. We've got 2.5 government MLAs. 3. We've got one here who's been a stalwart. Where are the other 2? Now, as a result, we can't get the government to our meetings. We can't get the officials to our meetings. We want them to come and talk to us so we can provide our views, not the option 1, option 2, option 3 and the have your say, which they seem to rely on more. So a lot of people put a lot of effort in. To put on this meeting takes a lot of effort. A huge amount of effort. Don't mind doing it if we get a return on the investment. It's not there and we're not getting any engagement. And that has been sad. Feel free to interject if you want to, if you think I'm heading off the track. So, I've got better things to do. And it seems like most of the rest of the committee has better things to do. But we've had a good time the last 12 months. It's been tough for you, but we've got there. I have really appreciated the input people have given us. You know, that odd email, catching you in Woolies and saying, hey, have you thought about this? Down the street, somebody saying, there's that pothole, it's been there for 2 years, I put on fix my street many times, nothing's happened. All the conversations about the hooning, Dixon Drive, garbage not being picked up, rubbish in parks, all that sort of thing. I really appreciate those conversations, and it's been information we have been able to feed back to government. Do they do much about it? Sometimes you can get things to happen, sometimes you can't. Or should you what the magic formula is? Do you know, Fiona? Anyway, during the year, we got involved in the territory budget consultations. We prepared a submission suggesting they could do things like improve the lot for junior sport. And I know a few people here are quite passionate about that. I cannot understand why Revetto has been allowed to stay the way it is. I've invited Yvette Berry to come here and talk to us about it. I get no Mrs. Bitty that day. Well, Minister, hope you watch. That's not a good enough answer. On the planning review. Now that was a knock them down argument, conversation. It was a poorly scoped bit of work. They didn't really know where they were going. And to think, the thing that drove me mad in it all, they said governance was off the table. Well, land in a territory like this with no coal mines, gold mines, things like that, the land we live on and interact with is our most valuable resource, natural resource. Yes, our people are also a natural resource. In terms of commoditising something, it's land. Now, you're not going to put good governance over the allocation of the land. You leave the place wide open to abuse. Dumb decisions, bribery, corruption. You know, we've got this independent commissioner against corruption now. What's it called?
Yeah, the Integrity Commission.
Yeah, we're watching some silly conversations going on in there with a certain school at the moment. We're probably going to see it with CIT. I think the big one is going to be in planning. I don't know where, but there'll be an outbreak. Now, I saw Ed Cox, other MLA, where I read yesterday in a dissenting report on the Heritage Review. There was one sentence in there that caught my eye. He has figured out that the chief planner is also responsible for the heritage area. So that's Fox in charge of the in-house stuff to me.
And Conservator?
Yeah, I can go right through the lot. It just does not compute. Where's the accountability there? It's leaving it open. We got involved in the pathway to electrification. Moving to electrifying houses is good. We're trying to get away from burning stuff. Something to do with greenhouse, we know what all that is. It's proven, nobody's arguing about that anymore. It's how do we get there? Where do our arguments come from mainly? What about the people who can't afford it? What can we do, firstly, to help people understand what's going on, and then facilitate a smooth transition? Now, the government did come to the party with that, with some rebates that are clearly targeted. I think they can do better. I think they're going to have to do better in the longer term, but at least we got the argument through and it's moving forward. We were invited, because this area was affected most by the 2003 bushfires, we were invited, Michelle Weston, Michelle Bourdain and myself, went into a little huddle with the multi-hazard council people, I'm talking community resilience. I thought it was a great opportunity to point out how we saw it from a community perspective. I know we threw things in there they hadn't thought about. We threw in the long-term trauma from the 2003 bushfires that is still evident in the community. One of us, I don't know who it was, suggested they hadn't actually started planning on the 20th anniversary celebrations, commemorations I should say, which they then did, but at the time there was no noise about that. Was that you, Michelle, that pointed that out? Yeah. Wasn't me. And we got right into it on the 2019 bushfire event and the smoke haze and the impact that had on people with respiratory problems and the need for smoke shelters, the need for early warning so people could make decisions, including go to Queensland or something, go to the mountains, go on the beach to get away from it. Okay. We participated in 3 separate public hearings in the Assembly. The dangerous driving. Can I introduce you? Can I introduce you?
Yeah, sure.
Howard McLean's just walked in. He's the convener of the Greater Canberra Community Group.
Hello, everyone. I didn't quite intend to come in and suddenly end up on the spot, but hello, I'm Howard. I'm the convener of Greater Canberra, which is mostly engaged around land use and zoning reform in Canberra to allow more housing and to reduce carbon emissions as purposeful. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to talk to me.
So, yeah, you're welcome to participate. We participated in 3 committee hearings. Dangerous driving. Now, why did we participate in dangerous driving? Because it was endemic in the community. We were hearing noise from everywhere, from people. They couldn't get their kids to sleep at night. They're being terrorised on our local roads. The police would not act. The common reply when you rang the police was, oh, they're over in Hume, they're busy in Hume. They can't come all the way over here. To which we said to Minister Gentleman, why aren't you here, Minister Gentleman? He's also refused to come to these meetings. So declined and sent the sergeant from Woden. Why isn't there a permanent police presence in Western Creek, covering Western Creek and Malonga? Don't care where the station is, but it can take half an hour to get a policeman here in a critical situation. You can't expect them to pack up a previous situation and charge over to you, but I think response times need to improve. We feel, and the community feels, we're being poorly done by. We hoped when they announced the emergency service station over on Dixon Drive, it would include a police presence. It doesn't. We understand there's more funding to police, we understand there's a different model. We just want to be taken into account in that model. What's so hard about that? We've been, there's a group from various, there's groups, there's organisations who've been invited to participate in the Canberra Airport Community Aviation Consultation Group. And we've been one of them. And Tom went before I did. And there's somebody from Tuggeranong goes and somebody from Gungahlin goes. You get to learn lots of interesting things. Like, I had early morning embargoed. The Fiji Airlines coming, Fiji Airways coming, and bringing that rugby team in. I could have told my mates, but I wasn't allowed to. And we had other inside information on airport noise footprints, where future routes might go, what they're doing with the grasslands around the north of the airport. They have been a model of consultation. Whether you agree with what they do or not, that's a different thing. Oh, and also, big thank you to the airport for donating or lending us the marquees for the garden party we held at Featherston Gardens. Very much appreciated. All I had to do was ring them and say, hey, I'm looking for some help. We had all these big marquees. They said, you've got to come and get them. But then they loaded them and they went to get themselves, right? We've been involved in the light rail stage 2 community reference group. I put an expression of interest in, they said, yeah, come on. And that has also been a very good group. Now Fiona, I've got a bit of information for you. They see you as a prime partner, Woden, and they're going to set up a separate consultation arrangement.
Oh, so I was wondering how come I've applied a couple of times to the other reference group, but they don't invite me onto it. Woden Valley Community Council doesn't get an invite to the reference group for Civic to Woden.
We asked the question
Thank you.
last meeting, and we'd asked at the meeting before, and the answer at the last meeting was there's certain groups that are so important we want to talk to them individually. Unfortunately, it appears like they haven't invited you, but
In and out.
I was looking after your interests.
Thank you, Bill. That's good intel.
And our main argument there, government has decided they're building light rail. I have avoided having the debate here about the merits of actually building. Government's decided. What we should be debating is getting the best deal for us in terms of transfer times, transfer points, preferably at grade access where we transfer, coordination of scheduling, and improving access to the West Deakin Health area. They've been the key points we've been banging on about. And I've been sitting next to the woman from the Council for the Aging. She's been saying the same thing. It's great. Now we can just get them to do it. And if they do it, they will improve the customer experience for everyone. If they do it properly, if they do it badly, they won't. It's as simple as that. We've pointed out a few trip hazards around town. I had a few from the light rail in my phone. The woman from the Council of the Aging had exactly the same ones. Okay, I'm not that number of trips over everywhere. Now, we've been supporting for a long time, Louise will know how long, Featherston Gardens Friends. They're a subcommittee, we're a bunch of volunteers, committed people who've taken, and Louise will talk about later, they've taken a patch of ACT land that was abandoned when the CIT moved out, and they've actually been working to restore it with a combination of grants and favours, etc.
Fundraising, yeah.
Fundraising and favours. And I keep saying to people, it's a great little spot, you should go up and have a look if you haven't been there. Anybody who goes there goes, it's pretty cool. So we managed to obtain a Queen's Jubilee grant from the Commonwealth, and not being a monarchist, it sort of went to the grain a bit, but cash is cash. And we've planted, well they planted a row of great myrtles, and we had David Smith come out, we got him on video, we had a chat to him. We had enough funds in the grant to give everybody a muffin and a cup of coffee. So I know how to get 200 people into a park in Canberra on a Sunday morning, give them a coffee and a muffin. But I thought it was quite a successful day and a lot of happy people. We had bass painting, we had a folk band playing, yeah, lots of interesting things. So, anyway, as I said earlier, committee's done a lot of work. We've been active in probably more places than other councils might get into, probably interfering in places we shouldn't. But hey, it's all about the benefit of the community. How do we improve the livability of Western Creek? I was saying, hey government, hey officials, you've got to do better. If a request for any information, evidence, comments has come out, we've just gone, hey, put that in, and we'll see where we go. So, what is it? We're going to nominate. Now, without a viable number of people nominating the committee, and that's following up after this, we are not going to have a community council. Keep that in mind. Yeah, we're probably going to put it to sleep and see what happens. I don't know. See what the outcome of the AGM is. From the nominations I've seen, I haven't got enough to hand over to really anybody. That's sad. Maybe it's time to move on to a new consultation model. I don't know. My feeling is the government should appoint somebody to tie all the bits and pieces together a couple of times a year and hold a town hall style meeting. That's my view. Others have got different views. But I think it's too hard for volunteers, it's too much work. You don't love the work, but you really fall down on getting the status in certain places. So you work on your strengths, you know what your weaknesses are, and you try to deal with them, but in the end, you can only do what you can do. So,
Can I ask how many more people you need to keep doing?
look,
Have any?
we need tonight, or within a month, 7 nominations. I'm not aware of 7. I'm aware of a couple who are thinking about it. But you need 7 people who are dedicated. Now, the existing committee is not walking away. We're happy to help. And do an orderly handover. I've been saying this for 12 months. And I'm glad you asked that question. But I have been saying it for 12 months. And getting nowhere really. Isn't that right, Nikki? Nikki knows I have. So, council's in a prudential state. We've lodged all our returns, got money in the bank, all the insurances are in place, grant acquittals, for grants that have been dealt with or been lodged. So thank you to Michelle, Louise for all that. A lot of good work. So, on the DD grant that was offered, I would encourage every other community council to say, no, not signing it. It's ineffective. You need to up your game, government. You need to do better. I don't believe they're that interested. But I also think back to the election forum we had here, the last election, and how Ms. Cody reacted. Get out of my mind. She didn't get re-elected. Hope you're watching. We're happy to contribute. Okay. So, where to from here? I'm going to ask Emma to say a few words. And you can have Ed's time, and you can have Jeremy's time. He never takes his time. He never attends. And I know you're not watching, Jeremy. It's okay. You should apply to me anyway. All because I asked him a financial question. And then who else is with you? Marissa? Oh, and Christopher? So out of 5 MLAs in the area, we've only got 1 here. I think that's disgraceful, personally. Anyway, over to you, Emma.
Hi. Look, usually I come up here and I tell you a few things that are happening in my areas of responsibility and ways that you can either apply for grants or participate in inquiries or consultations or things like that. Actually, what I'd like to do tonight is say thank you to the committee of the Western Creek Community Council. I've been coming to Western Creek Community Council meetings on and off for quite a few years, since before I had this job. When I was in the community sector, I also used to come here as a useful way of getting an understanding of what was going on in the local community that as a community sector worker I was trying to serve as well. And I found it a useful way to get a bit of feedback about what were the issues that people wanted to work on and and also sometimes to present some of the research that we've been doing. So there's actually been quite a few Western Creek Community Council members over the years who I've seen have done some enormously valuable work for the community here in making sure that government understands what's going on and also so that other community organisations understand what's going on and how we can all work together. Some of the things that I've found particularly valuable over the last year have been coming along when you've been having discussions about planning issues. Now, I'm not a minister who has responsibilities in that area. I'm basically a minister for people issues. All of my responsibilities relate to people who are having a pretty hard time. But planning is something that every member of the Assembly needs to have a strong understanding of what it is the community is looking for. And so I found these meetings really helpful to listen to the questions that were being asked of, some of the public service officials who came out and talked about consultations, or of other MLAs when they were here. Just to sort of get my head around what are the things that you're trying to balance. There were some really useful conversations about how we get things right in terms of we know that people need housing, but we also don't want to lose our bush capital. So how do we achieve both those things at the same time? It was a really helpful discussion. One of the other things I found really useful was a workshop that the Western Creek Community Council held on women's safety. That was enormously helpful for me, even though I am, again, not a minister for planning. I still have a very strong interest in making sure that this community is safe for, not just for women, but also for people with disability, for older people, for young people, for people in our LGBTIQ community, and for people from a whole lot of diverse cultural backgrounds as well. And from the work that I had done before I came into this job, I knew that if you fix it for one group of people, you often end up addressing issues that are also being faced by other groups of people as well. So no time is ever wasted when you're listening to people talk about how we can make things work better so that people feel safe in their local community, particularly after dark. So having the council be able to host and support a workshop where women from Western Creek could come in and talk about their experiences and what they felt would help them feel safer, and where some of the problem areas were, was enormously helpful, and that is information that I continue to use in my work as an MLA. I want to say again, thank you very much for the work that you've all done. I know that there's some past committee members here as well, and I do hope that the council will have some new volunteers join, but I do absolutely recognise that ACT government's engagement with the community council here has not been where it should be, and I would very much like to see us get better at how we can engage in true participatory democracy, where the things that you're telling us can help to drive some of the decisions being made for your local community.
No questions of Emma?
I would love to join the committee, but I think your constitution would not allow that.
I have a question. Well, anyway, there was one, you could give it to me as a chat about the fact that they wanted the police person to hear a question. But that's not basic. I really am thinking right, but I think it's going to help you to get going out. Whereas community council of Western Creek and Malala got their head together and work together on activity.
Yeah, and there's a development approval for an emergency services space on the border between Western Creek and Molongo at the moment, which seems like a good opportunity to make some submissions about what kinds of things should be on that emergency services footprint, and whether police should be part of that. I do think that when we're talking about police presence, if the main concern is creating community safety, police are very good at finding out what's happened after a crime has been committed and dealing with that aspect of the justice process. If we want to make our community safer, one of the key things that we can do is reduce the reasons why crimes get committed in the first place. And so that means looking at sports, recreation, arts and culture activities here. It means looking at some of the drivers for what causes crime in the first place, like whether there are things we can do around domestic and family violence and mental health support. The two most common reasons why people call the police actually at the moment are that someone is having a mental health crisis, which is why we've expanded the PACER team so that mental health clinicians go out and deal with that rather than just police on their own. And so that, and domestic and family violence is the other of the top two reasons why people end up calling AAA. So if we can address some of those things, and if we can address some of the boredom issues and the inequity issues and the social discord that happens when we lose that sense of social cohesion in the community, that will make our communities a lot safer. But yeah, if you're thinking that we need a police station here, then the development process for the block on the border between Western Creek and Molongo might be a good place to talk about, is that the place for it?
Last time you were here, you encouraged the applications for community grants. When I went home, I went to the website. Oh, okay. Sorry. and it said applications were closed.
So I think that was the one where applications were closing on the 10th of October. Was
I
the
don't
seniors
remember,
group?
remember a date. So
Yeah.
I rang up and said, why said you'd come and why? Why does it say applications are closed? And I was told, oh, you have to go into another section on the website and you have to look at which ones are closed and which ones are open, and they open and close all the time. Not a terribly helpful way to...
Yeah, I must say, yeah, some of the government websites are very hard to navigate to find, you know, particularly when you're talking something like Community Services Directorate, who have so many different areas with grants at different times of year. Yeah, it is really hard to find. I will pass that feedback on to them and see if something can be done about making it easier to find things on the website.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
We now in general business or something, or what's?
We're
Quite sure what's going on.
We're giving Emma the MLA time. It's an MLA, do you want to?
Okay. I've mentioned this maybe here before, but I've certainly mentioned it at Molonglo Valley Community Forum. You mentioned boredom amongst presumably teenagers and children, and the odd bad apple who might get up to trouble because there's nothing organised. I think right down the other end of the area here, you can see the success of the indoor sports centre there. And there are other similar examples like I believe the gymnastics one, I'm not familiar with it, but where they're overrun with activity all times of day and weekends, etc. And I know it's a bit of a pipe dream of mine, but there is an empty building sitting up opposite Coco, which was going to be a supermarket once, which isn't going to ever be a supermarket. And I really believe the government, if they're serious about getting some indoor sports going, particularly in Molonglo, which has no facilities, or very little facilities, nothing like Western Creek has, that could be developed as some sort of community hub for indoor sports, I don't know, activities and other things. It's not for me to say what should happen there, but okay, it needs a cement floor. They've got probably difficult owners, one of whom isn't with us anymore, sadly for his family. And I don't know, I just think, what are we going to do? I mean, the government's never going to build a sports facility there. There's an empty building sitting there, it's about 80 metres by 40, you know, with a decent ceiling. You know, I'd suggest, you know, pull some money out of a bag somewhere and try and get something going there.
Yeah, absolutely. I can understand that you know, Molonglo really does need more sports facilities. And when we were talking earlier, you were mentioning the need for junior sports facilities to be looked after and to be upgraded and for there to be enough of them to meet people's needs. There's a whole range of reasons why sports is really good for people, and it's not just about your physical health, and it's not just about your mental well-being either. Part of the reason why I engage in playing sports is because it's good for my mental well-being, but it's actually really good for social cohesion as well, especially when you've got lots of community-level informal volunteer-run sports groups who share access to facilities like, you know, your local football oval or an indoor basketball stadium or something like that. When people are having to share space and you see one group coming in as another one's going out or things like that, it's during those crossover moments in between where people meet each other and find out, oh, you're into that thing and I'm into this thing and here's our common ground, and look at all of the things we have in common. There's been some quite serious research done that shows it's great for cultural diversity as well, because you get groups of people meeting who might otherwise not run into each other casually in the community, and so it's great for that. Similarly, if we were to have more cultural facilities in the community, you know, Canberra Theatre is fantastic and we love it, but having things that are closer to home is also really important in helping people to find that sense of common ground, see what each other's experience is, see what each other is doing, and appreciate it. So, you know, I do what I can outside of the building space with things like supporting the Seniors Arts Festival that we got funding for in this year's budget, where the whole idea of that is that there'll be a whole range of activities that are happening closer to home to where people live. So things at, for example, you know, Belconnen's Arts Centre or Tuggeranong's Arts Centre. Now, if we had arts centres in places like, you know, Woden, Western Creek, Molonglo as well, then those would be more spaces where we could do these activities. So having a space for the community to come together is really important in creating community cohesion.
Oh, sorry.
Can I also say, supported my idea, and you've expanded on a number of other activities that could be held there. I mean, I don't know what's necessary, but surely it's a couple of staff funded by the government, rent to the owners if they're willing to do it. Someone's got to come up with a concrete floor, and then programs, etc. But that's a fantastic location. I mean, there's a shopping centre across the road.
Yep.
There's a small shopping centre as part of the complex. It's right in the middle of that can't think of the sort of you know, the community hub there. It's just gone out. Right, McCoo, sorry. Should always put those two people together. I mean, that's meant to be a village thing, and it's grown there with the development of the shops in Cocoa, etc. I mean, that building is in a fantastic location, and there's so much that could be done there, and yet it's been sitting there empty, and it'll stay that way unless someone does something.
It's probably not the only potentially great location in Molonglo Valley for indoor sports facilities either. You know, I'm sure there would be other potentially good locations as well. One of the things that I was actually talking about in the Assembly yesterday, I'm not sports minister, I'm not planning minister, and I'm not you know, the minister who's in charge of community facilities, so I can't speak for them and I can't speak for whole of ACT government. But what I can tell you is that the Greens are very keen to see a long-term plan for community facilities to be constructed and maintained across the whole of ACT, rather than a piecemeal approach of, you know, everyone having to lobby every MLA every year until they get their sport looked after, because not every volunteer-run group has the capacity to do that. And the other thing is support for a peak body for community sports organisations, so that they've got the capacity to actually, you know, engage with government more effectively on how do we look after all of those community sports. Because a lot of community sports are very capable and happy to share access to facilities if they actually know that there's a plan. And at the moment we don't have that kind of plan. We'd very much like to see it.
If I could just make one final comment, I think the secret is to make it cheap for people, and not price them out of the market. I mean, we've seen that with the so-called community centre across in the I don't know which, where the chemist and the gym, etc., and that hub there, virtually not used. We've got a fantastic centre. I don't know how often it's being used down at Denman Prospect, which was, you know, privately funded by Mr. Snow, I believe. And but I think that the secret is not to overcharge people so that they just don't use it. I mean, it's just pointless then. And I'm sure, look, I can't speak for the Muslim community, but I know they're looking to have a building of some sort for daily and weekly services, and I mean, that they could use that sort of facility as well, I'm sure, even if all this is on just a temporary basis for 5 years, because the prospect of a new sports centre being built in Molonglo is Buckley's in, you know, the immediate future, in my opinion.
John, can you pass that over to Simone? Simone will have something to say about junior sport.
Oh, I was just going to say, I know that the basketball guys they're desperate for space. They've been lobbying for some time to get more indoor facilities. So, but I think you probably know that the sport's just exploded post-COVID. So, yeah, But I do actually have something a little left of field to ask you, and I don't expect you to know about it, but given that Canberra College is at capacity and with a lot of the public schools at capacity, etc., have you considered at all opening Stirling College again? It's built, and I know that it is currently used as a community facility, which is great. We also have Holder High School there too, which is a community facility still. Probably needs an upgrade, but yeah, would there be any thought to opening Stirling College, given the amount of students that are in this area now, including Molonglo?
Yeah, it's probably a question best directed to the Education Minister, but what I can tell you is that there are plans that, while we don't have a long-term plan for sports facilities, you know, like a 10-year or more plan, there are plans for what to do about, you know, where we might need schools in the future, and a lot of thought goes into looking at the demographics of, you know, where the growth in need is coming from and where it might be needed. One of the really important things, though, is to consider how do we make sure that if a new school is being opened somewhere, that it's fit for purpose for modern educational needs. So, you know, it's great to be thinking about maybe school buildings that are there that have been used as schools in the past, but whether or not they would have the ability to take the capacity in terms of numbers and be able to provide the facilities that people expect in a new school building now, I'm not sure. But it is those are the kinds of things that would need to be considered.
I'm going to throw something in, and I'm going to give it to Howard. You've had 3 shots, John. So, Emma, I'll make a comment. I was pretty appalled when the Sports Directorate sent to Council and asked us to prioritise the sporting needs in Western Creek. They sent us a big document. They asked us to tell them what we thought the needs were, what the sports were, and to give them all a rating, a priority. So what did we do? We went through our records of every sport that ever asked us to help them get a facility. We said of high importance, and we rated them all the same, number 1. And I wrote a letter to Minister Berry saying, well, dumb move, in effect parroting, dumb move. We felt they all had equal merit, and partially it's because they've been neglected for so long and the population has been growing. It's been sort of creeping up, all these young people are moving in as the old people move out, and they haven't kept track of the population. And I think it's the same comment with schools. And I saw it in the planning debate. The population, the analysis of the population and where it's distributing to is not reliable or accurate. So I don't know how they can plan these things without knowing where people are going to live. Yeah,
I know they do work pretty closely with Bureau of Stats around projections and what it means. But yeah, I'm not an expert in population projections myself. I think what you've talked about there in terms of you know, the way in which the council was consulted on that particular matter is a really good example of why we need a peak body for, or a peak organisation for community sports, so that there is someone that you know, that the sports directorate can go to when they're looking for that kind of information, who specialises in community level sports. You know, it's great that we've got so many elite athletes and professional sports organisations in Canberra, but the volunteer-run community sports, it is really hard for people to find the time to participate in every consultation or even know that they're going on. So, you know, having a peak there would be very helpful.
Is that what comps do?
Yes, what we would like to see is some support for what they do.
Okay, I'm going to give the floor to Howard for a minute.
This is just a very brief picking up on some other things that have been discussed, but effectively we're now in the position where, as part of the new territory plan, the government has said that they want about 75,000 people in Molonglo Valley now. That's a lot more than was originally planned for Molonglo Valley, but Canberra's growing and they needed to find places to put new homes, and the government effectively has decided that a lot of that is going to go into Molonglo Valley. So just picking up on all the concerns that have been shared here tonight about community facilities and facilities more broadly, the fact that Molonglo Valley is currently only has a group centre planned rather than a town centre, given that it's going to be the same size as Gingala, kind of picks up a lot of these issues about the scale of the community facilities that will be available to that community going forward, and by extension the pressure on community facilities here in Western Creek if those facilities aren't provided within Molonglo Valley. So that's more of a statement. I know you don't have any planning responsibility, we just wanted to put on the record that we're really worried effectively about the pressure on community facilities and also amenities within Molonglo Valley, given how we're effectively rebuilding the planning for that district on the fly now.
Yeah, there's two other key things that it's going to put pressure on. One is that western edge and the bush capital status of Canberra, and really important areas of biodiversity like Wilkes Block and the adjoining blocks around it. And the other one is our transport system. Making sure that we've got a transport system that's fit for purpose for a population that is so rapidly growing. Now, mass public transport is part of that, electrifying our bus network is part of that, but making sure that our transport network is accessible for older people, for people with disability, and for people who for whatever reason, can't walk long distances. So making sure that our local transport options are working well for people is critically important. So having people who can have their voices input into all of those consultations is the only way that we're going to be able to make sure the right decisions get made. We do a lot of work within the Assembly, within the Greens, to try and get things made more transparent and get things on the record about what's being planned for our transport network and why things are being done a certain way. But if the consultations don't have input from the people who are going to be impacted, then it is that much harder to make sure that the right decisions are made.
I've had a long held view, and every 4 years when we come around to that popularity contest, I ask it and I'll ask it again. The transport system here is uncoordinated, it's a mess. There's so much more that could be done very easily, probably even within the same funding footprint. There's no will to do it, and there's so much waste, it's unbelievable. Now, I can point out to the local example of the new bus terminal that won't take any passengers. It's a terminus. Buses terminate there, then they turn around and they race off down to Tuggeranong or Belconnen, annoying the local residents because they're speeding through their neighbourhoods. We're told we've got 50 zones. We don't, if you're a bus driver. And it's been an irritation for a lot of people. I get lots of comments about it before I even start on my own. And then you've got those infernal orange buses. I saw 3 young men help a woman onto an orange bus the other afternoon because she couldn't get on. She was there with her shopping and a walker. And if they didn't help her, I would have had to, so I was glad they were there. We're putting that aside, it's just disrespectful. And then the transfer times on weekends from the R7 to the local routes, to think somebody might have to wait an hour and 59 minutes, I see people in my heads, an hour and 59 minutes for the next bus to get home, because the scheduling was so bad. The bus to your suburb leaves over here at, say, 2 o'clock. The bus from the city arrives at 2:01. So you get to see a nice set of taillights. They had it working for a while, They don't now. So there's people getting lifts, walking. Apparently I'm banned from walking home after dark. But the Irish Club's very handy. But the point is, it does not respect people. And some people might be vulnerable. Some people might be lost. And it's so unnecessary. And in my view, it wouldn't cost much, if anything, to fix. So what I'm getting at, I think they need an independent advisory council for transport in this town that can give the government good advice, because they're not getting good advice internally.
Sounds like a job for everyone.
That is a really good point about getting good advice. One of the things that we really wanted to see at the start of this Assembly term was an access committee for Transport Canberra to get people with disability and older people in our community engaged in the decision making about how our transport system works at a much earlier stage. Not once all the decisions have been made and you're just kind of checking them with people, but at an earlier stage in the process. Now, we've now got that committee. It hasn't been around for a huge amount of time yet, but I am hopeful that getting people involved that we'll start to see the impact of getting people involved in decision making earlier. And if we're not seeing the impact, then I'm very happy to push for changes to the way that committee is used by TCCS to make it more effective. Because I know that people at TCCS, they want to do a good job of providing a good transport network for the city, but sometimes they don't always know what they don't know, and so we need to make sure that they hear it.
My invitation to that committee must have got lost in the mail.
I'll see if I can follow that up for you. Any other questions?
I think you can sit down now, Emma.
Thank you.
Now, I've got a couple of little items in general business. I'll go down. We've had two apologies for this evening. Peter Kane, MLA for over there, what's it called, Tyndall?
Yeah.
He has been watching us. He's off to a multicultural event tonight, so he can't come. And Val Bland, who's quite a stalwart, her granddaughter's turning 18 and having a family function. And we've got Nora, who for some reason can't attend tonight. Apparently she's still online. Glenn?
Our internet just dropped out.
Okay, it's all right. We will load the video up over the next few days, so she won't miss anything except to answer the question. So, okay, I'm asked. Oh yeah, okay. Minutes from the previous meeting. We distributed minutes from the previous meeting, September meeting. Now, I usually lean on Rosemary, because she was there.
Yes,
You're fine? Thank you. And she said goodbye. Is there somebody here who was at the September meeting who could second that? Oh, thank you. Lovely. Right. Now, I'm going to call our general meeting to a close. We're going to move into the AGM part. I've asked Fiona Carrick, who's the chair of the Woden Valley Community Council, to take it over, just to make sure we've got independence. And Fiona can't nominate, because our constitution doesn't allow it, so she can't be chair. Sorry about that. But she's got enough to handle over there with her skyscrapers and things. So Fiona, would you mind coming up the front and going through it? And all our committee is stepping down, and you just do what you do.
Thank you, Bill. Now declare the AGM for the Western Creek Community Council open. I guess I'm chair of this meeting now, so I'd just like to say a few words. I'll be quick. planning reform. The planning that we have had through over the last couple of years is not town planning. It does not take account of, well, it takes account of homes, but it doesn't do it in a holistic way with jobs, your commercial areas, your community facilities, your public spaces, and you know, all the things that holistically town planning would normally take account of. It's basically just about housing supply, which sure we need, but we need housing supply done in a holistic way with public spaces and community facilities and jobs, and where we create these great hubs where people can come together. Sporting facilities is a passion of mine because we've developed a real structural imbalance with a lot of the indoor sports and the culture all now on the north side. In Woden, we've lost our pitch and putt, our bowling greens, our tennis courts, our indoor sports stadium, now our pool, the ice rink. We have lost so much, and it's your town centre too. That town centre is Woden and Western Creek's town centre, and we have gone backwards, and we have got very little left. We previously lost the bowling, the 10-pin bowling. We do have a nice skate park. And we also have clubs, gaming clubs, where the community, I guess, is supposed to meet. Public transport, okay, we all want a great public transport system. What will give us that? If we're going to invest a lot of money in light rail, tell us what services we're going to get. How do we get from the suburbs of Tuggeranong and Western Creek and Molonglo into the city? Do we have to change, like so you catch a bus from Rivette to Coolum Court, you get on the Rapid to the Mint interchange. When you hit Adelaide Avenue, do you have to change again onto the tram? Or will your bus run through? If your bus does run through, I go to town every day. My car was sitting at 0 kilometres an hour today in the traffic. Good public transport is reliable. It will get you from A to B when it says it will get you from A to B. If you do not have a dedicated bus lane and you have to sit in traffic at 0 kilometres an hour, this is not good public transport. People don't like it if they don't get to where they want to go to when they think they're going to get there. So if we from the suburbs are able to stay on our bus to get to the city, you need a dedicated bus lane, otherwise it is not good public transport. Okay, let's get on with the AGM.
You forgot the lack of Bunnings.
Sorry about that, but I just had to put my 2 bobs worth in about those issues. Okay, minutes of the 26th of October 22 AGM. We have the minutes here. Do we need somebody to?
I'm happy to.
One's enough.
We need a second.
Oh, okay, good on you. Thank you. Okay, got that. Business arising from the 26th of October meeting? No business arising. Okay, Chair's report and Treasurer's report.
I read the chair's.
Yeah, that's already been done.
Okay, thanks, Fiona. I think a lot of this has been covered one way or another, so I think it's pretty short. The accounts for the financial year 2022-2023 have been audited. The auditor found that they're in accordance with Section 72 of the Associations Incorporation Act and presented a true and fair view of the financial position of the council. I think everyone's had a copy of the report. There's one available over there if they would like it. The acquittal for the deed of grant for 2022-2023 has been lodged and acknowledged by the ACT government. So that's our financial statements, etc. So we're acquitted there. I think Bill ran through the activities of the council in the year. The largest amount spent in one particular thing is the garden party that we ran for Featherston Gardens, so that was the largest sum of money spent by the council on one thing for that year, and he was successful and worked well with the Friends of Featherston to host the event, and thanks for all their work. Basically, the council has enough funds to cover its operating costs while the future of the council is sorted out, and we have an offer of a deed of grant dated 25 October for $13,000 for the coming financial year, and as Bill mentioned, this has not been signed yet. That's it. Thank you. Any questions?
Sorry, any questions?
I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Michelle for her hard work over the last few years dealing with the accounts. A lot of little bits of money, and they flow everywhere, and she's done a sterling job, and she can now return to her normal life and whatever she wants to do. And thank you, Mark, for letting us borrow Michelle to do that, and thank you for your wise counsel. So it's been a pleasure working with you on this. I knew you from afar a long time ago, well, not that long time ago, and it was good to actually do something with you for a change.
So thank you to the whole committee that's been working for Western Creek for these last 12 months, and we will now we stand down the committee, the old committee. Oh,
My name's Louise Hughes. I'm from Featherston Gardens Friends, and we're a subcommittee of the Western Creek Community Council. We are a committee of about 7 people. We have working meetings every Wednesday and the last Sunday of the month. So far, well, in the last financial year, we volunteered 2,000 hours in Featherston Gardens, which is no small amount of moving woodchip, let me tell you. We've had 3 grants in the last year. One is the Queen's Jubilee grant, where we planted about 100 metres of crepe myrtles, and that grant is at the moment being quitted, so that when we spent everything, which is nice. We also have won another grant for Adopt a Park, and those grant funds will be used to replant. There's a large pond, so we're putting new water plants in and planting around it, and we're linking that into the Queen's Jubilee grant garden as well. For those of you who don't know about Featherston Gardens, the gardens were planted about 50 years ago, and what we have left in Featherston is 3.5 hectares of garden. It's the biggest green space in Western Creek. It is exotic gardens, it is native gardens, it is secret gardens, it is an arboretum that's over 50 years old. We have a number of heritage trees that we're in the process of having them formalised as heritage trees. We are, with a grant that we're working on at the moment, clearing along Hyson Street and removing all of the dead trees that are there. We are now planting probably about 100 metres of native plants back where they should have been, and back in line with the original plan for that garden. What else have we done? We work closely with ACT government, which, to be frank, is hit and miss. The ACT government provide us with woodchip. They're many months late delivering that. They do mow the gardens, and they are meant to be doing that about every 2nd week. And since about January, they've been on track doing that. And they also, if we have major vandalism or major damage to the gardens, they do come in and repair, just very slowly. We have, like large sections of Canberra, a real rabbit problem at the moment. And my advice to all of you here is if you are seeing issues in your green spaces, go on to Fix My Street and report it. The system has been renewed. We have just dealt with an issue of a problem that we reported 18 months ago, and it is now finally being fixed. 18 months to remove a dead tree from a fence that's been knocked down is just a little too long. So we've been working, as I said, with government to try and fix up some of the problems that we see. Having said that, we've got great relationships with some of the staff who do work with us really closely. We work with the Southern Area Catchment Group as well. And we have a committee, as I said, that's really very strong. And that committee does a lot of extra work other than the gardens. So we run garden walks through the gardens for community groups. We work with CIT students to undertake class activities in the gardens because the gardens at Bruce aren't mature, so they need to learn how to prune. They come to Featherston. We have done a lot of work with weed removal, and we've got rid of a lot of the things that are a problem around suburbs like Western Creek, where we've got woody weeds like Cataniaster, privet, all planted back in the 70s as hedges, but now they're weeds. So we're working slowly to get rid of all of those. We have planted, it would be hundreds of trees this year in the gardens, so they are looking pretty stunning. For next year, we're going to be focusing on labelling the plants because a lot of that was removed when CIT left. We're doing a lot of pruning because our trees are now old and they do need to be looked after. We're replanting the native corridor on Hyson Street, and we're doing a lot more work with the Arboretum because, again, it's ageing. So that's probably it for me, other than to say that our balance in our bank account is nice and healthy. We, at the community day, the garden party last year, with plants that we propagated, we made $4,000, so that's gone back into new plants for the gardens. And that is it. So thank you.
Thank you.
No questions?
Can I ask the question?
You can ask a question.
I'll do this on the benefit of Louise, you've got some really good neighbours about to move in and start work. Have you had any interaction with the Village Building Company about that?
Previously we did, so we had a really good relationship with Village Building Company, where they've been into the gardens, they've looked at what grows well in Western Creek, and they are going to be replicating some of the plantings that we're doing. Along Hyson Street, we have met with the group, and they will be using similar plants to us. So from Streeton back up to almost Isherwood, which is probably, 500 or 600 metres, there will be similar plantings all the way along the street. So it'll be a lot more cohesive.
So you're not afraid of medium density development going in at that lower part in your neighbourhood?
Not at all. We've seen over the last 4 years a huge increase of the people using the gardens. A lot of families, a lot of older Canberrans use the gardens. A lot of carers bring older Canberrans into the gardens. We have birthday parties, Easter egg hunts, all informal, weddings. So the gardens are being used a lot more than they ever were because it is a wonderful green space. We are seeing a lot of our top neighbours using the gardens on a daily basis. We see people working in the gardens on their laptops. So it's become a really good place to be. When the new community move into the village development, we see that continuing because things like the gardens in Featherston have to be used by the public. And we want them to be loved and cared for like we do. And we want to see people enjoying that green space because that is so good for you. Any other questions? You've got one, yes?
There's been a lot of chat about, you like, something that's sort of you haven't got in there, have you?
The toilet block? No, and we as the committee, we've decided we're not going to be pushing that because really it's a government decision.
Where are the stewards, the West Grant Garden? What I'm thinking is quite good to think that nurses doing that. You've got to you really want to come up with what's the cleaning and what's going because a lot of nurses have to do
They know where the sewer pipes they are. They do have, the sewer pipes are at the front gate. We know where they are. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. I think it's a great public space, and so thank you so much for looking after it. If people are going to use it as the housing supply and the densification increases in the area, and people are sitting in there and working and taking families there, you need a toilet block. And I think that it's 12 months till the next election, and so if you can get an election commitment, go and talk to Rollo Brett from Farrer Residents Association because he got a toilet block in the Farrer playground. So, you know, can be done. And not only are you looking after the people, but you're looking after the biodiversity, and that's really important. So now can we dissolve the committee? Okay, committee dissolved. So we will now ask for nominations for the 23-24 Western Creek Community Council Committee. Any takers? Any forms? Oh no, there's no pre-ex people who have put their hands up sort of in readiness.
I'll tell you what. I will be happy because I fundamentally believe that there should be local community consultation group. I'll be happy to stand in to get a committee in place, give myself 1 month to do a rollover and get a committee in place if that was something that might be supported by the group here or something that, I'd be happy to nominate just to do a holdover. I think a lot of people didn't realise how bad things had gotten in the community consultative space. And I do agree with Bill that it may not look the same. It might need to be a newer model or a changed model to adapt. So I'd be happy to stand in to build a committee within a month or just do a handover, just to see if we can get some more people, if that would be suitable.
So does everybody support Simone standing in order to build a committee over the next month?
Is there one committee? Based on any council at all?
Well, I mean, there's more people in the community than
There's more
in the
people in the
room,
community.
so it's
And just bearing in mind as well that the Facebook feed has gone down, so we don't have people online looking into this, but I am aware that there are numerous people who might look for a different model that's perhaps not as, a bit more community-based, a bit more grassroots-based, a bit more, maybe it's a bit different. But perhaps, I have previously been in the council, so I know how it runs, I know how it's supposed to run. So I could hold it over for a month and to see if there was any interest, seeing as the members have stood down, hold it over for a month see what can be done, and yeah, just so we don't lose it all together. Yeah.
Sure.
I think that's a really welcome move by Simone, to be community-minded like that. There is a lot of work involved, as you would know. I know how busy you are, but I would think what we'd have to do is perhaps reconvene at the November meeting date. And if you
We
could...
need to have someone to hold it over to that, so I think that would be, that would just do a space filler up there.
Yeah, there's not
Yeah.
a lot that needs to be done over the next month because we charged in digital.
Yeah.
So probably the main task is to see if you can recruit people.
Yeah.
I wish you luck,
Yeah.
but I think
Give it a go.
I think we've got to put a motion to the meeting. I think you'd have to put a motion to the meeting. They'd agree to that.
All right. Okay, this is a motion to the meeting. Does the people here tonight in the meeting support the motion that Simone temporarily takes over the community council in order to build a committee to go forward with, to try? Raise your hands if you support Simone trying to build a committee.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking there. Or did you put a rider on for 1 month?
Oh, I think I did.
Yeah,
I just-
Yeah, but that's 6 weeks or something. Why don't you until early next year or something? 4 weeks, okay. All right, 4 weeks. 4 weeks.
It's just simply, let's just,
Yeah.
we just put in a little bit of space so we can actually just
Regroup.
look at it. Because I honestly don't think that people knew that knew that perhaps the council was struggling to get a foothold in issues and just things like that, as you've spoken to tonight. So if we get 1 month where we have a look, we talk to
Okay.
local people. And
So can we just do it again? Support that motion, yes. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Can I...
And those
Sorry,
that don't support.
before you put it further, I think we need to put a few caveats on it. Reconvene at the next scheduled public meeting day for Simone to report back on how she's gone. So
Aren't you dissolved though?
I'm still a member of the council.
Are you? You're putting your hands up to be on the committee.
No, I'll reserve my rights on that. I'm just saying,
Oh, yeah.
as a member of the council, I still want to see good governance. Michelle's got a question down there too, I think. But I think we need to put some parameters around it.
All right.
Thank you. While I really appreciate Simone's offer, and I think it's a wonderful idea, I would like to get some advice from Access Canberra. My understanding is that if Simone wanted to do that, it'd be fabulous. It'd be really good. It'd be good if the council continued. However, you can't take over the council and be operating unless you have 3 committee members. So there's legalities with it. So I just, can we seek advice and get back to Simone so that she's not put in a difficult position? It's a very generous offer. I think it'd be fabulous if it continued, but I think we did a lot of research on it, and I think we need further advice to make sure that we're following guidelines.
Yeah, I was just going to echo that as well and say that there are problems with being an incorporated association in terms of what can be done under the protocols and the Constitution and the Act. I do not know how it applies to the situation right off the get-go, but it will be something in your position that I would want to seek advice from Access Canberra and potentially holding another AGM or an SGM for the purposes of filling the committee in the months.
Good night, everybody. By way of introduction, I am Niall Cookard, its community council after the bushfire. The person who was the neighbourhood watch did a drop in it, and the head honcho for the neighbourhood watch was burned out in the fire, and I got elevators at the top job. And the way we organised, I went down to the community council and first time, and I was giving a neighbourhood boss an absolute shock. But hang on. I'm the head honcho, what's going on? But what I needed to know, and what we did then was that combined neighbourhood boss and the community council, and we worked together for 3 years, a very, very productive years, to help the community over such the start of this period. But from then on, the community council, Jeff Carr, who was a fantastic president of the community council, the right man in the right job. But what it's disappointing to see that the community council seems going to slowly decline over the years, and nobody wants to become a member. But my suggestion, judging from experience I've had here in the United States, that Muhammad, the mountain will not come to Muhammad, that Muhammad has to go to the mountain. But then you get to kill them, talk to them, talk to people with like, how can the community council add value to your quality of life? You know? What things that are really affect you? Would you be prepared to give us the proof? Or do a letterbox drop letterbox every letterbox in Western Coast. I'm quite happy to reinvent my school to the letterbox dropper in and do all member. But that is the way to go. They've got to get at the community, individuals in the community, talk to them, try and buy them. We are here to make things better for you. But that would be my suggestion, is the way to go.
That's a good idea, and you know, like I know you said about the neighbourhood watchers join together. So there's always another option that Warren Valley Community Council and Western Creek Community Council has a merger.
What did not help the community council, Tom Anderson, he wanted the swimming pool down rather than there, he was like, he was up there, but now he tried to credit for having a student. It was Steve Dotcott that did it. I worked for Steve Dotcott and CFR. I worked up together out of the golf school. The school's on the wrong track. Go up. She's now coming to study. And Steve did all the hard work.
Alright, so maybe we need to put forward a motion. What do you think about this one? That the Western Creek Community Council investigates the opportunity for Simone to build a new council over the next month.
We just have a look at, just don't fold it just yet, because I just don't think that we have consulted
The members must be able to sort of hold it over for a month,
yeah,
surely.
Just hold it over for a month,
And
we'll have a look at some options.
And look at some options. Do some letterbox dropping, see if we can get more members, instead of merging with Woden Valley Community Council. You know, there's options. The strength in numbers, we're side community councils, we're relatively small, both of us, compared to Belconnen and Tuggeranong. It wouldn't hurt for us to join and have some more strength together.
Okay, I've got the microphone. I'd just like to mention that I'm the public officer of Western Creek Community Council. I think it's important that I say that up front so people know. I just want to be really clear. we can't dissolve the council or the committee. That's the Registrar General's job. It's really important. So I don't want people to panic. There is possibilities that things can change, that people might nominate later, which would be fantastic. So please don't get very worried, and in the short term, hopefully something will come, but we don't have the power to dissolve this. That's the Registrar General's job. As public officer, I think the best way forward is for me to seek advice from, and also the office bearers of, seek advice from Access Canberra to make sure that we do things correctly. And I think that would be the best thing, and I'm happy to do that as public officer.
Howard?
All right, full disclosure, I'm not a member of the council, so this is just purely in my capacity of also being involved in another incorporated association. And for about a year or two, I was really involved in the ANU Clubs Council, which was responsible for managing their 180 incorporated associations and the various different clubs. And I defer entirely to the secretary, effectively, on any of these points. But sorry.
The seats are all empty.
Yeah.
So we can't refer to the secretary.
Okay, yes, but getting the former secretary on the interpretation of these points, but my understanding of where the council currently is the committee is dissolved, it is within an AGM, there are no nominations, there is no one who can transact any form of business after this meeting closes because there's no committee, and then in addition to that, unless there is a committee of 3 members, you cannot validly, under the constitution and the model rules, form a committee. And this is very much just by reading through your constitution in the past 10 minutes. But it seems to me that the only thing that legally can be done within the constitution is a resolution of this AGM to call a further AGM to fill the committee at a fixed date. Because no one has the ability to transact any further business as a committee member because there's no committee and there's no nominations for anyone to serve this committee. Or alternatively, if 3 people put up their hands up, but that's just my 2 cents.
Does anybody want to put their hands up with Simone? 2 people put their hands up with Simone, and then we can have a small committee that seeks to build it. Yeah? 2? There's 2? We need 1 more person. Yeah? To work with Simone to build the committee.
It's not the size of the job and the price of the size of the price of the job.
No, it's just a hand up to work with Simone.
So what's the motion?
Well, at this point, the committee is dissolved. Simone's put her hand up to, Athene's put her hand up to be on the committee a small committee to work towards building a larger committee. And are you willing to be on the small committee? That makes 3.
That's correct.
And then come back in a month in November meeting and see how.
Yeah.
Okay. The date's already set for the November meeting. We'll get that one for you to pan it out. Does anybody know the date? November 29th? Okay.
Okay, so that's, we have a small committee of 3 people. Congratulations.
There we go.
Nominations need to be.
Yeah, something there.
Yeah.
Handing over to you, Simone. Meeting closed. Next, unless you want to say a couple of words, or otherwise the meeting closes.
No, this is unexpected.
She hasn't got the notes.
That's the end of the AGM.
Yeah.
Not the committee, but not the handover to them. That's the end of the AGM.
Will we have a small committee of 3 people?
Volunteers working outside of the committee it's an unelected thing. Yeah, you're not a committee, according to the AGM. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, well, we would have to have a vote for this, you know, I mean, we can vote that these 3 people form a small committee of Western Creek Community Council to go on, or we can vote that, I guess, they do this outside of the committee context.
Can we vote that we authorise them to do it under the
That's
Western
fine.
Creek Community Council auspices?
Yeah, well, the members, I guess, is this okay? The members are agreeing to 3 people to undertake to build the committee prior to the November meeting. Whereby we can have another look at the committee.
But what we're doing is we're scheduling a further AGM
Yeah.
for November, and those words have to be in the motion. So,
Okay.
in effect, what we're doing is reconvening the AGM at the November 29 meeting,
All right.
where we'll have a vote on a committee, or we'll work out where we're heading.
Okay, so that's the motion, that we will reconvene the AGM at the November meeting, agreeing to these 3 people to look at building the committee, and then at the November meeting there will be another vote about a Western Creek Community Council committee. Do we all agree to that motion? Anybody opposes, say now.
Michelle's got something to say, I think.
No, I'm opposing.
One opposing. So do you need a consensus or do you need majority?
Can I just ask a quick one, because I'm sort of, you don't want a community council? Is that basically what you're saying?
No, it's not what people are saying. It's basically, I think people are, isn't Howard, sorry,
Yeah.
just interested.
Yeah.
People are just conscious of our public responsibility to do things in the right way. And that's what people are trying to do.
So that's the thing, we don't like to,
That's, I think, where the concerns come from.
does anyone have any ideas about if you don't want a community council, what you do, like, you just, what happens next?
Do you want to say why you oppose it? We have one person opposing. Do you want to say why you oppose it to inform the rest of us about your views? Who's got the mic?
First, I'd like to thank everyone for offering. It's not about the people that have offered at all. It's about the correct process. So please don't think it's about, and I don't think we're allowed to even do a resolution like that at an AGM. That's a special meeting. I just want it done properly. So if that group wants to do that investigation themselves, my understanding, I'm not a lawyer, I think it's really important that we go to Access Canberra and find out what the process is, because I don't even know the names of the people that put their hands up. I don't know if they're on the members register, so I don't know. It's the terminology of committee that's concerning me, because that has a legal connotation and it has a requirement. We also have a deed of grant that needs to be done properly. I'm the public officer. I'm just nervous in my own role that it's done properly. So it's not about the investigation and people looking for other committee members. That would be wonderful. It's about how we move forward. And I think we're better off having, there's no nominations. I'm also secretary. I have no forms. So the model rules say we can take them from the floor, but I don't have any in front of me. I think it's best if we go to the government or the powers to be, my understanding is Access Canberra, and work out the best advice to do it properly.
Fair enough, but we're not saying that they're the committee.
No, you did.
There's no committee.
In the motion you did, and that's what's
Not in
concerning
the
me.
motion, I just said that we reconvene agree to another AGM at the November meeting, and in the meantime...
Who organises that?
With these... Well, I don't know. You can make these things really hard.
I'll add 2 things in here. The motion has to say, subject to Access Canberra advice, policy advice. That's one. And number 2, are you going to chair the meeting? Yeah?
I can do that.
Because we've resolved.
Yeah, I'll chair the meeting.
not saying we're not going to facilitate and help and whatever and hand over. I am really interested to see how you go. I'm not against it, but it's got to be done properly. So thank you for coming forward.
Well, I think, yeah, that's like, I'm actually in agreement with Michelle on this. Like, we want to do it properly, but I just think that it's one thing to, you know, because when I came in, I thought there was 2 nominations already in, and I think that people don't actually know. I just don't really want this to sort of fold and go away without people knowing beforehand that there's
I'm going to correct something here for you, Simone. I've been, and the committee have been banging on this issue for well over a year. We said this day was going to come if people didn't sign up. I've run out of friends to tap. In answer to Noel, I've been down to Coolman Court, and Nikki will tell you, saying, hey, how about you join the community council? And they go, oh, they're those people that fight with the government. They go, don't want that. The way people operate has changed. I do wish you luck, but you have to bring in people that are going to represent Western Creek, and I know you're passionate about Western Creek. These are people that must be passionate, of good character, and prepared to represent the people accurately, not go off on tangents. They're hard to get, I tell you.
Special groups now have this particular interest and so on, so you know it's hard to find. You know, everyone's trying to bang the drum for a lot of things, but yeah, I just it may not look the same. Did you want to say?
Yeah. So I am a lawyer. I don't practice in the area of associations law. Please don't take this as legal advice. I do read a lot of incorporated association constitutions. Your one includes a very common, what might be called an emergency safety valve, which is that you can call a special general meeting without the committee under certain circumstances if a given number of members calls it. The problem that we're currently talking about here with the idea of appointing a small committee is that the AGM appoints a committee for a term of 1 year. It's very hard to call something a committee unless you're doing that, and unless you're filling the positions in the Constitution in accordance with the process given that. Everything here should be subject to Access Canberra, but the problem that you guys currently face is as soon as this committee dissolves, there's no decision-making body for the Western Creek Community Council anymore. I do think it's probably within the competence of this general meeting in its capacity as a general meeting to call another general meeting, and if it's not, then if you get 10 members to call a special general meeting, then there's an ability for those members to convene that general meeting within 1 month.
So why don't we do that? We agree to, have a motion to for the members to agree to a special purpose meeting in a month's time, whereby we'll reconsider the positions of the committee.
And that gives time for people who are interested to nominate. So if that would show that people to nominate in a normal way, and I guess that's the right amount of nominations and things.
Yeah, I would formally say that the former secretary can correct me if my understanding here is correct, but to do it, the motion should say calling a special general meeting for a month, say that the purpose of the special general meeting is for the purposes of filling the committee for this coming financial year, because this is just the things that are required under the Constitution for a special general meeting. It needs to include the purpose.
So do we have a discussion then more about, Fiona, we've got an established council down the road. Do you talk about that, about like us going into your committee if you've got an established one? Is that something that the government will help with? Is that something that we
have to write a new constitution for both?
Yeah, that's right. So if there's not enough numbers in this area, and yet there's a healthy council down the street, is that, I don't know.
I think you want to get some advice from Access Canberra
I think we have advice from Access
I
Constitution.
think you'd have to write a new constitution that was called Woden Western Creek Community Council or something like that, like a merged one.
Your members too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They'd have to be ready too.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, I'm with Michelle, like, I would rather take advice and do it properly, but there are other ideas, like there can be other ideas, different community groups that represent.
But in the interest of trying to have a process to keep going, if we do, as Howard said, a motion to agree to a special purpose meeting in a month's time to consider the options, one being a new Western Creek Community Council and any other options that may come forward.
Can you guys hold on for that long? Michelle?
There's no committee.
Well, that's the thing, what happens to all the...
Will the members come forward in a month's time and try and form a committee? Is that right, Howard?
Unless this annual general meeting now elects a new committee to form as a term, then there is, and once again, this is kind of in weird territory, I don't fully know what's going on here, but there can't be a new committee formed unless it's under the terms of the Constitution, and if that is not an option which is being pursued, then effectively the only thing that can be done is to call a further general meeting, and there to be no committee in the meantime. And
then the members come in a month's time and then try to elect a new committee.
Then we attempt to fill the position, well, we basically attempt to fill the positions under the Constitution again.
And doesn't it also have to be dependent on the advice that Michelle gets from Access Canberra?
Well, that's...
Yeah.
So even the month, we need to get the advice first and then say...
What if we don't get it within the month? No, but if the Constitution says that we can, the members can reconvene and call it, the members can call it a special meeting.
Probably best to
Yeah.
see how the ground lies.
Yeah.
My suggestion in my total ignorance, I must admit, I know nothing about these matters, but I would suggest that given there is no committee, it's a bit, and there's doubt about how the Constitution suggests we should proceed, that the best thing would be to report to the government or to whoever, Access Canberra, whoever, that the association was unable to form a new committee and seek their advice. Don't start talking about joining up with other community councils. My comment on that would be, Woden isn't the only community council that's attached to Western Creek. I mean, there is Molonglo Valley. So I mean, I think
it all works now.
I'm not talking about what Ryan says, but I mean, it's silly talking about joining up tonight, I think. I just think we should report back to Access Canberra that there was no committee formed, and what do they suggest we do?
All right, there's
Yeah,
that option.
that doesn't stop Simone and the others trying to get people interested in joining the committee. There's nothing that stops it.
That's it, there's nothing, we can...
There's no impediment to that.
And if the Constitution says that the members can call a special purpose meeting in a month's time, I don't see why we can't agree to do that, if that's what the Constitution says.
It has to be 10 members or 5% of the total number of the members register.
Sorry, say that again.
The committee must, on the requisition in writing of not less than 10 members or 5% of the total number of members, whichever is the greatest, call a special general meeting of the council. But I don't understand I don't know how that works if the positions have been spilled. So I get back to the point, we need advice from Access Canberra.
Do you guys want to come back? Could you do
That's what we said in the motion.
Yeah.
We will reschedule to meet on the already set aside allocated date for the public meeting, and we will use it for those purposes. We will get the advice in between, and I believe you're going to try to rustle up some people.
Well, we'll come well,
See what you can do.
advice, so I'm just...
No, you do. There's nothing stopping you. My reading is nothing stopping you getting on the phone, pressing the flesh down at Kilburn Court, and seeing if you can get people to come and join the committee. Now, I caution, as the outgoing chair, make sure you've got the time to do it.
Can you actually do with the alarm?
Because what's the rest of it?
Just like the alarm. Is it, can we just find out what the options are? Maybe we just start by we can't be put in this committee. So, and you guys are in a handover.
What's in it?
That's Fiona's job.
What's that?
Yeah, Fiona's agreed to stand in.
It's your position right now is on behalf of
So do we do another motion? Is that what you want me to do? Just to sort of clear it up, like to be clear? Yeah.
Now, I'm going to say one more thing.
Yeah.
The whole question of merging with the Woden Community Council was never put on the table, and it is not to be discussed at that meeting. And if it is, I'll vote against it. It is about forming a new committee to represent the Western Creek people. If that cannot happen, we then can move to that other conversation, but not until then. They're different issues.
Well, there are options for the future.
It's called AGM, a special AGM for such and such a...
Okay. We can get advice from Access Canberra and maybe some guidance from like people on that to
Okay, so this is a motion of the members that we hold another meeting at the November normal, time, and we will look to elect a new committee, and if that fails, at alternative options. With advice being sought from Access Canberra.
Are you all right to do that, Michelle? Like, get some advice from Access Canberra? Or... So, can you...
So, this is the motion.
all right.
This is the last time, third time, all right? This is the motion. That the members of the Western Creek Community Council agree to hold another meeting in a month's time, the normal public meeting time, to elect a new Western Creek Community Council, considering advice being sought from Access Canberra, and should that fail, look at alternative options for going forward. Who agrees to the motion? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got 10 members. I didn't count you because you're not a member.
No, that's all right. It's partial
So, and...
I'm just being transparent for the minutes that I'm putting down as opposing.
Yep. Okay, so we have 10 agreeing to the motion and 1 opposing the motion.
I'll oppose this.
2 opposing the motion. So what happens now? What does the Constitution say? That it's a majority rules or it has to be consensus?
It doesn't have to be. Like if it's saying it's not rules, then the two thresholds are either a simple majority or a 75% majority. There's both in both cases. So it doesn't matter what particular threshold it is, the motion carries.
The motion is carried.
Sorry.
I need a mover and a seconder.
So who moves the motion? Simone? Anybody second the motion? Athene seconds the motion.
Athene, are you on the members register?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm new. All right, so the meeting's closed, but we'll see you all back here in a month's time. 29th of November, 7:30 p.m.
Thanks.
Got there in the end. Thanks for helping with the constitution. Yes, thank you.
Circumstances, although really shy.